You think you can stop me with rap?
More homicides than a dodecahedron.
Hello everyone. While Rick and Morty Season 7 episode the 8th of May seemed to be just another episode of the popular animated comedy, it really breaks a significant record that the program has been holding for 69 episodes. Nothing about Rick and Morty is constant. The first two seasons of the Adult Swim phenomenon, which started as anarchic parodies of Back to the Future, were made up of outrageous standalone stories that parodied horror, fantasy, and sci-fi cliches. But starting with Season 3 of Rick and Morty, the program started to treat its characters with greater gravity. The fifth season conclusion of Rick and Morty was the show's darkest ever, but the sixth season returned to a lighter humor. Season 7 alternated between lore-heavy, dramatic excursions and lighter episodes, following Season 6's lighter tone. And when Rick Prime was abruptly murdered off in Rick and Morty Season 7, the program responded with two of its funniest episodes to date. This was a major canon-shaking event. Therefore, it shouldn't be shocking that Rise of the Numbericons, the movie, the 8th episode of Rick and Morty Season 7, managed to do something that no other episode had been able to, thereby maintaining the unexpected aspect of the program. But even season fans were taken aback by this episode's huge turn, which deviated from the one reliable tradition on the program. The first episode of Rick and Morty in which Rick does not have a part is Rise of the Numbericons, the movie. Rick doesn't make an appearance throughout the episode, which follows Morty and Ice-T on an interplanetary journey with Morty's math instructor, Mr. Goldenfold. A week had passed after Rick and Morty abruptly killed off RC-137's antagonist, altering the course of his whole storyline. When the program offered him a week off, the entire first half of the show was devoted to a fight between sentient numbers and letters that took place on an extraterrestrial planet. Not even Morty made an appearance until after the cold open. Rick was nowhere to be found, and Morty didn't become engaged in the adventure until Water-T, the Ice-T character, came back to Earth to ask Mr. Goldenfold for assistance. The further the story went on, the more plausible it looked that Rick would finally show up to save the heroes when they got into too much trouble. After all, Rick's attempts to track down Summer and tidy up her mess made for some of the funniest scenes in Rick and Morty Season 7 Episode 7. But this time never came, and Rick wasn't even in the post-credit stinger for the show. For the first time, co-creator Justin Roiland has not been the voice of either of the show's two main characters in Rick and Morty Season 7. It was evident that the program will probably alter its format once Roiland was sacked in January 2023 after a domestic abuse allegation. The first Rick and Morty episode sans Roiland, on the other hand, made use of the new performers by sending the two on separate journeys. Morty made a short appearance at the start of How Poopy Got His Poop Back, the first episode of Season 7, but he had no more involvement. This appeared to suggest that Rick and Morty will continue to develop plots in which the protagonists spend episodes apart. But even though Rick and Morty were split apart in Season 7, Episode 7, when Rick turned into a Kuato, this didn't take away from the significance of either character's appearance in the story. In contrast to what the trailer suggested, Rick and Morty remained to get the majority of the screen time in Season 7. This is the reason Rise of the Numbericons, the movie, is so remarkable and unexpected. Rick's absence was made even more unusual by the absurd narrative and sci-fi parodies, which made it a classic Rick and Morty episode. In the Season 7 trailer for Rick and Morty, Morty stuffs his face with spaghetti. Viewers have a greater opportunity to get familiar with Rick and Morty's new, somewhat distinct voices when they spend an entire episode with just one of the show's titular characters. Consequently, appearances such as Rick and Morty Season 7, Episode the 8th of May helped the show succeed in Roiland's place. It can't have been easy for the show's producers that Rick, Morty, Evil Morty, and the monstrous Rick Prime were all prominent characters voiced by Roiland. Therefore, it seemed fitting that although Rise of the Numbericons, the movie, emphasized Morty's replacement, episodes like the premiere concentrated on acclimating viewers to Rick's new voice. Morty made just a few cameos in Air Force One, the third episode of Season 7, which helped fans get acclimated to Rick's new voice actor. But Rick has always been the silent hero of the show, and as he is the most nuanced and ethically gray character in Rick and Morty, he was always going to have an episode all to himself first. Episodes like The Old Man in the Seat, from Season 4, Episode 2, developed Rick's character without Roiland leaving. Thus, Rick's departure in Season 7, Episode 8, provided Harry Belden, Morty's replacement voice actor, with a great chance to make an impression. Rick and Morty Season 7 is obviously dedicated to experimenting with the show's standard pattern, as seen by Rise of the Numbericons, the movie, Morty's lack of screen time in the pilot, and the choice to place the season's pivotal Episode 5 in the middle rather than the finale. This is fantastic news since the 7th episode of the show might have easily grown stale and boring. After 10 years on the air, even the most highly praised programs find it difficult to stay popular. However, Krapopolis, the latest show from Rick and Morty co-creator Dan Harmon, is finding it difficult to get as many positive reviews as The Simpsons, proving that longevity in and of itself doesn't always spell doom for animated comedies. But The Simpsons surpassing Harmon's new show also demonstrates the importance of an established series experimenting with its format. Rick and Morty might go on forever, much like The Simpsons, assuming the program is willing to maintain a novel and surprising setting. In this sense, episodes such as Rise of the Numbericons, the movie in which Rick and Morty subtly altered the formula, are very influential.